Not Raving But Drowning from Julian Cope's new album, Peggy Suicide, an album recorded with great speed and no pressure.
I recorded entirely loosely. I figured we're out of the tense 80s. The 80s was technology taking over art. I figure we've got the 80s was the engineers and the producers getting it together to understand all this technology.
Yeah.
The 90s is going to be really, really loose and cool. I recorded the album really quickly, really cheaply. I recorded it, it's a double album. I'm saying to everybody with the album, I'm trying to say to people, look, don't be putting out 8-track albums and spending forever, because we're in a recession, and you want to give people a lot, I think too many people in the music business are they don't realise what a joy it is.
So do you think bands like The Farm and The Charlatans have done well to be so natural?
I guess the baggy thing has been a real help in a way, because I know that to a certain extent people expected a certain sonic thing, a certain sonic quality, They didn't expect wallpaper drum sounds and stuff. There's this 80s drum sound which I just cannot bear.
Is that Phil Collins snare noise?
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, feel the kick drum on this, it's amazing, we were 17 days recording the bass and all this. I tell you what, it was really weird, because when Tears for Fears were doing their last album, the only thing I have in common with Tears for Fears is that we used to share management, and it would be like, I'd record an album while they were doing the bass lines. And in the time that people have careers, people bring children up while Kurt Smith's, learning the bass lines. He had helicopter lessons. I think he was married twice while they were recording the album, And where is it reflected on the album? All it sounded like to me was like, 10cc doing the Beatles. So really, and that's not meant as a slag off either.
You were being kind there, were you?
I was understating it.
But you see that, a lot of what you say does make sense, because some of the best music of all time was very quickly recorded. So you perhaps think it's a good idea for people to get back to that.
Yeah.
Maybe the recession, and there is a bit of a recession in the music business as well. People are at last beginning to say to bands, we might not sign you for quite as much, and we might not put quite as much pressure on you to deliver stuff. Maybe that will help people to think more about the songs and how they record them.
It's going to stop record companies signing anything, musicians thinking that they've got forever, and also it's going to start making people realise why they buy records. And people buy records not because they sound amazing, but because there's something that touches them right inside. And as much as everybody's got this intellectual self that lies on top of them that says, well, I like it because of this and this, underneath, you listen to Frank Sinatra, and some of his greatest records are where he's singing slightly flat in places. And if a few modern producers that I know had been recording Frank at the time, they'd say, come on, Frank, it's a bit out of
Let's do another take on that, or whatever.
It's that whole nuance is what people were digging Frank for.
That's absolutely right. Well, you record a double album. Do you really have a double album's worth of songs? Are there no fillers on this album?
I wrote 35 songs, recorded 30, and we put out 19. The record company said to me, Julian, we'll be perfectly honest, your recording career is not in the States for you to put out a double album. So I said, look, I honestly wouldn't put it out if it wasn't a good album. I wouldn't presume to the record-buying public if it wasn't a great album. There's going to be people who'll say, the new Julian Cope album would make an amazing single album, and it's a shame it's a double. But what I'm saying is it's representative of something. I'm saying I'm an ambassador of looseness. And, you're going to hear it. People will hear it. And I'll explain that it means something to do a double album, London Calling by The Clash. Yeah, maybe there's a couple of tracks that you wouldn't put out on a Clash Greatest Hits. But in actual fact, the fact that they did it said something about The Clash. And the fact that my new album is double says something about me.
So it could almost have been a treble album then?
Could have been a treble album, if I hadn't been an amazing editor.
Are you going to take this album out on tour? Because it's a rock and roll thing to do, and it's been a while since you played live.
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah. It's a dead easy album to do live as well.
Are you going to do it solo or with a band?
No, I'll do it with a band. I'm going to do it with a 3-piece. It's funny because my drummer rang up the other day and he said, I can't believe it. The last time we did it was really difficult to play live. He said, I could really play like he can play the bass lines and the guitar lines. It's all so simple. And I played lead guitar on most of it. So it's like the easiest. It's total doddle to play, you know?
It's going to be a minimal show then. 3 pieces and not many lights.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Very cheap.